Hey guys, so welcome to this. I'll be explaining some of my architectural models of intelligence and phenomenology of perception. I kind of want to make this a series because I keep on making a lot of mind maps and I feel like I need to justify as to what I'm drawing, right? So welcome. Today we'll be talking about only two slides. So the first one is the construct of intelligence. Now, as you see at the diagram here, we have intelligence being broken down into three different things. And that's why, and because there are three, I call them C3. So the first one is comprehension, the second one is connection, and the third one is creation. So all of these three components are very much necessary and furthermore constitute what intelligence really is. Now, comprehension is basically your capacity to understand, your capacity to synthesize, whereas connection is your capacity for abstraction. Now, what is abstraction connection, right? You take a lot of different theories and for some reason you're able to combine all of them in a perfect way that they fit together. That's what I mean by connection and abstraction here. Then the most important part of intelligence is creation, which is creating your own models. If you're not able to create your own models, then you might not be authentic, and hence your intelligence and your thinking capacities might not be authentic, or wanders around intellectual areas. So you see the diagram. So on the left, I have some notes here. And these notes will be just defining what this intelligence diagram that I've made is. I'll read it out and I'll explain it. So intelligence is an autonomous subject's capacity to comprehend or synthesize knowledge alongside the capacity for abstraction and furthermore to possess the ability to create unique models. Exactly the diagram. Intelligence is or comprises of C3, that is a somewhat top-down reduction of the complexity, which is intelligence. Now, if you see the diagram, you can see that I'm basically using a top-down reduction model in order to understand or deconstruct what intelligence is. And that's why I call it C3. An agent is intelligent by the virtue of being able to create models within its given environment. However, the models created require a certain level of comprehension and connectivistic capacities. So one of the aspects of intelligence is that, of course, you need to be intelligent enough to create your own model. But these models that you're creating also need to be having a comprehensive essence to it, and that they have connectivistic capacities, that you can take this concept and take another concept and be able to make a synthesis of both both the concepts or maybe a new concept arising from those two concepts. Then we have this other aspect that I really have been thinking about. I think, resolution and causal reconstruction definitely plays a huge role in infatuating the C2 capacities within one intellect, because it puts forth the ingredients upon through which the model is brought into existence, that it would be the components and constituents. There's a lot of conversation around causal reconstruction, and I personally think that this causal reconstruction plays this humongous role in trying to explain but also expand on what it means to have C3 capacities. Because again, it's putting forward the ingredients upon which the model is brought into existence. The last one is like each component is independent. However, all the components are required for the agent to be intelligent, because an agent could have creative capacity, only by that would be a waste if it's not able to grasp the model's meaning or level of abstraction. Each component, of course, is independent: comprehension, connection, creation. But you need to take all of them in order to, for my model, to be considered as intelligence. Now, because an agent could have creative capacity only, but that would be a waste, right? If you only have a creative capacity, it's a waste if you're not able to comprehend it, and if you're not able to connect it and further create more. So that's something that has been pointing out. Moving forward to my favorite, the on the phenomenology of perception. Now you see this brilliant, I would say, diagram. Brilliant because I'm biased towards my own, you know, makings. So you see a diagram here with a cube, and you see 6 different thinkers and 6 different types of concepts that they have created. So we have analytical phenomenology by Martin Heidegger, and then we have expository phenomenology by Edmund Husserl. And in between you see P, which is phenomenology. So I consider Heidegger and Husserl's philosophical phenomenology as the foundation of phenomenology in itself. And then when I look at Merleau-Ponty, I am reminded of embodiment, but I'm also reminded of his book, Phenomenology of Perception, which is brilliant. He does a really great job in elucidating most of the concepts that he has created. Then comes intentionality by Sartre. Now, in Sartre's The Imaginary, and also the Sketch of the Ego, I guess, 2 or 3 books that he has written about intentionality. They're really good with structural phenomenology because he structures everything in his book of Imaginary. Then we see Embodied Cognition, which is by Francisco Varela. And embodied cognition is basically lies under embodied cognitive phenomenology. And both Humberto Maturana and Francisco Varela come from a neurophenomenological and cognitive science background. So their way of thinking is slightly philosophical, but also mostly biological as well. And so also a fun fact, I think Maturana was a mentor of Varela. So now we see the structure here. So upon the side of linguistic ontology, you see that there is neurophenomenology because he was the pioneer of neurophenomenology, after which Francisco Varela took, his lineage and continued on developing his own theories. So on the left, we have some of my notes, some of the things that I tried to construct so I can explain this diagram better. I'll read it out and I'll explain. It is the imaginative capacity of our perceptual consciousness which constructs a subjective sense of external environment perceived. Now, this is my basic thesis for this diagram, that this imaginative capacity that we have, in our perceptual consciousness is what constructs the very subjective sense of our external immediate environment perceived. So now if you look at this woman who was staring at this plant, right? There's a perception and then there's an imagination, right? So she's perceiving, but then her imagination is also there, which is assimilating both of them into what she's seeing as an immediate external environment. So again, we see that the imaginative capacity of our perceptual consciousness is responsible for constructing this subjective sense of external immediate environment. Now, moving on to imagination. Imagination within the imaginative capacity of perceptual or visual consciousness renders or puts together the images of our immediate external environment perceived. Hence, the real or actual physical or material reality is imperceptible to the perception of a subjective sentient. So what we experience is merely a subjective constructed sense of reality. One could hence argue that our perceptual and imaginative capacities is what accounts for the qualia, the hard problem of consciousness, as Chalmers would talk about. So the constructed sense of reality via perceptual consciousness is what contemporary thinkers would define as a dreamlike sense of reality. That's Yosha Bach. And then there is controlled hallucination argument that controlled hallucinations mark our subjective sense of reality by Anil Seth. So this is more or less my presentation. Please do feel free to subscribe and add your ring that notification bell so you get both my podcasts and these presentations that I would give, that I would be putting on YouTube on. And with that, I hope you have a great day, night, evening, morning, wherever you are. And I stop recording. Take care, guys.